high school, you'll be teaching higher level topics. Teachers don't expect you to have a working knowledge of calculus or chemistry or French 2 or how to rebuild a carburetor in AutoShop. The lesson plans are going to be a little more generic than that so that you can follow them. Students tend to know what to do when you lay out their lesson plan. What I like to do when I get into class, of course, find the lesson plan, find the appropriate textbooks, and then write the lesson plan right on the board. I also like to write down their homework and whether I'm collecting last night's homework or not. This way, students can look at the board, and if they have a question about homework, I can point to the board and say, that's your homework for tonight, or remind them before the end of the class, remember, you have homework tomorrow. During class, I can point to the board and say, are you on page 452? You have to turn this in before the end of class. This gives them a very clear idea of my expectations during class. To begin class, I like them to sit down and I say something like, everyone take your seats, eyes forward please, everyone's eyes on me. Very simply, I'll get about 70 or 80% of these students will look at me at this point. I'll almost always have a few that are chit-chatting, and I'll quietly walk over to them and I'll say, I'd like to start class. Would you please look forward? This way, I've got about 70 or 80% of the class on my side. The ones that are talking while I'm trying to start class understand they did something wrong, but they also see that I didn't punish them for that. The other 80% witness how I deal with problems. My way of dealing with problems is usually head-on and in a very quiet fashion. I'm a pretty easygoing guy, a funny guy. This is my method of teaching. The way I start class is something like this. Good morning, your teacher is out. Obviously, I'm not your teacher. I'm your substitute teacher today. My name is Mr. Magidson. You can call me Mr. Magidson, but that's a very difficult name. You can also call me Mr. M. Or, if you forget my name, you can say, hey, Mr. Sub. Any of those, and I'll respond to you. I've let them know my name and that I'm pretty easygoing. I'll make jokes with them, but I do expect them to stay on task. You might be more stern with your method. This is up to you. Personality is everything in teaching, everything in substitute teaching. You might be more stern, something like this. I'm your substitute teacher. My name is Mr. Magidson. You can call me Mr. Magidson or Mr. M. You have a lot of work today. It's due at the end of class. Your teacher was very clear that she doesn't allow any talking during class. Anyone talking during class, I'm going to write down your names and report that to your teacher tomorrow. If you continue disrupting my class, I have no problem in sending anyone to the office today. That's a stern approach. That's not my approach, but totally appropriate. It might be more appropriate to your personality. I then set the students on task. I ask them to get out their books and to begin. And again, 80% of them will get out their books. They'll begin. A few will start chatting. I'll quietly go up to them, same method, and I'll say, please get out your book. Using this method, you'll find that most students will respond to you very, very easily. You've also got the other students on your side that will say things like, do what he says, you don't do this when the regular teacher's there. This is an easy way of keeping control and starting students on task. Once the students are on task, that's when I do attendance. I don't like to do attendance by reading out names. I find it disruptive in high school. I mispronounce names. I read middle names where first names should go, things like that. It gets a lot of students giggling and disruptive, and essentially I have to start class over. My preference is to take attendance through the seating chart. I look up and down the row, I mark down who's not there, and then I double check before turning in my attendance. If you calmly show your personality at the beginning of class, either by making a small joke, being firm, being somewhere in between, you'll have and maintain good control of your class. Remember, this is very important. If you have a disruptive, bad class, let it go. In high school, you have another class coming in. Don't be angry at the class coming in after the bad class. It's not their fault. They didn't do anything to you to make you angry. Let it go. Write in your notes at the end of the day that you had a disruptive class. The teacher will deal with them. Give the next class and the class after the benefit of the doubt.